I have always been fascinated with water and undersea life. These massive environments across the planet full of gorgeous and majestic creatures, ridiculously intricate ecosystems that we still don't fully understand, all in an environment that we can't live inside. Without a ton of protective equipment or the confines of a submarine, which itself entails a ton of danger, the best we can do is get a comparatively fleeting glimpse of this incredible world. That's probably why I'm drawn into and have a higher tolerance for games set underwater, like Jaws, Endless Ocean, Dive, and no, Aquaman's pretty god-awful. It's also why I decided to check out Sea Monsters, a prehistoric adventure. Sure, it's licensed on National Geographic, but what are the odds that every game where you play as an undersea predator is a piece of shit? Astoundingly good, as it turns out. By the way, the very first thing that you see when you turn the game on is a disclaimer that none of the creatures that are featured in this game lived in the same habitats or even the same time periods. That inspires confidence, doesn't it? A game licensed on a documentary that opens by saying nothing that you're about to see is true. The objective of the game is to collect all the fossils. That's it. It's so surreal to play a game on the Wii with objectives ripped out of an NES game. And how does it make any sense that you're collecting fossils when the prehistoric monsters that created the fossils are still alive? You start the game playing as a Thalassamodon, and this creature is completely useless. Most of the fossils are buried under dirt, hidden too deep for you to get without dying from the water pressure, and other things that the Thalassamoptagon can't do. So you collect the fossils to build skeletons to unlock new monsters with abilities to access new areas and get new fossils. Well, new areas is disingenuous. This hub area where you spawn, you spend the entire game here. You never leave this area. The world is so small that you can swim from one end to the other in about 2 minutes or less, and you can circumnavigate the entire map in like 5 minutes at most. I know because I ended up doing this several times. You'll notice several creatures swimming throughout the levels. You can completely ignore them. You can eat prey to recover health, which you'll never need to do, and predators never go out of their way to attack you. You'll never have to worry about enemies unless you run smack into one on accident, and even if you do run into one, the other predators move so slowly that it's easy as piss to get away from them. So all you do is swim around looking for fossils. There's no conflict, no survival, just peacefully swimming around looking for fossils while absolutely nothing happens. It gets boring pretty fast. You don't even have to explore that much to find the fossils because they're marked on your radar. You just have to wander around until a pink dot appears. Everything in the environment looks identical. It is very easy to get lost, especially if you turn the game off and then come back to it. You will have no idea where you are, where you were going, or what you were looking for. At one point I got so lost that I exited the game and got back in just so I could spawn at the starting area and get my bearings. What happened to the main menu? The entire time you swim through the hub, you're listening to a 10-second music loop, another thing bummed from NES games, and I think even the game gets tired of this music because twice the game glitched so that the music stopped. No music, no sound, but occasional gushes of water, nothing happening at all as you swim through a largely empty space. Was this game designed as a cure for insomnia? Because based on recent experience, it doesn't work. The game doesn't use the nunchuck. You swim by holding the A button and turning with a pointer, but pointing anywhere other than dead center on the screen makes you turn. Pointing at the edge of the screen makes your creature do a super hard turn and come to a stop, and some of the creatures are so maneuverable that they go apeshit unless you turn very delicately. Luckily, the gameplay is so ridiculously basic that the controls aren't much of an issue. There's no accuracy required, so the crappy controls don't matter so much. The game has 5 portals that lead to challenges that you have to complete to get a good chunk of the fossils, including the skull to each creature. The gameplay is so bare bones that you'd think this is where the game would come to life. You would be wrong. Every challenge is either swimming through rings or killing other creatures, and the combat just sucks. The first challenge, you have to eat 10 fish. Your only means of attack is to press the B button, at which point your creature will either attack the nearest prey, and often miss, or it will somersault forward into the background and do nothing. For those who didn't catch that, pressing B and getting lucky is your only means of attack. That's what the challenges are built around. Also, apparently the Thalassalopolis has a special ability that lets it stealth attack enemies. If you double tap A, and if the game feels like registering it, you will swim slower, which supposedly makes it easier to catch prey, and you get knocked out of stealth mode if you turn like at all, and this thing is still completely useless. What makes it worse is the Thalassomometer has such a long neck that it's hard to tell when your head is close enough to eat a fish anyway. And then there's the challenge where you have to survive the predators for 2 minutes. You do this by swimming 6 feet to the left and sitting there for 2 minutes. They make no effort to kill you unless you swim straight into them. Laziest predators ever! The first creature you unlock is Hinotus, this turtle-looking bugger that just sucks. It can barely swim, it drowns in water deeper than a swimming pool. In fact, if you switch to it and you're not directly above solid ground, you're as good as dead because the Hinotus will still sink while trying to swim upwards. It's rather like that scene in Dragon Ball Z where Yamcha tries to use Vegeta's training pod and he gets owned by gravity. Get up there, you little shit! Get up there! Actually, you see those yellow and blue bars in the corner next to your health? Those are stamina and oxygen. If you swim too long, you need to sit still to recover stamina, and if you stay underwater too long, you drown unless you hit the surface. Neither of these bars will ever come even close to empty unless you're playing as Hinotus. This thing sucks so bad they basically invented new ways to die with it. It wouldn't be so bad, there's only 3 or 4 buried fossils you need the Hinotus for, but every single challenge portal has a challenge that forces you to play as this thing swimming through rings. Apparently it's supposed to be able to glide on water currents or some shit, but the devs are basically saying, take this creature that can barely move and run an obstacle course with it. Is this supposed to be fun? Though I will say it was awfully nice of the devs to forget to program in that jellyfish tentacles are supposed to hurt you in a National Geographic documentary game. The only mitigating factor to playing as Hinotus is that dying has, like, no consequences at all. If you die, you either respawn at the start of the game, or you spawn at the last challenge gate you pass through. You don't lose any fossils, and you have infinite lives. And even then, the predators are so lackadaisical that the only time you'll ever die is if you get impatient and try to get too deep to grab a fossil. The next 2 monsters you get are the Temnodontosaurus. You know, it's worth mentioning that Microsoft Word doesn't recognize any of these names as actual words, which can travel to the bottom of the ocean without taking damage. And once you get him, you will never use the Thassa Megatron again. And then you get the Tylosaurus, which can smash through barriers of stacked rocks. Problem is that the game doesn't keep track of which barriers you've smashed through and which you haven't. As soon as a barrier is out of sight, it gets reassembled. It only adds to the confusion of not being able to tell where the hell you are or where you've been. And furthermore, who the hell keeps reassembling these rock walls? One of the challenge portals can only be reached by Hinotus, one can only be reached by the Tylosaurus, and one can only be reached by the Temnodontosaurus, and so on. So you figure out that once you get a new creature, the first thing you do is find the portal it can access. This gets you the skull to quickly complete the next skeleton. Once you have the key bits of the next skeleton from the portal, you wander around checking the fossils on your radar until you complete the skeleton, and you use it to open the next portal. The point I'm trying to make here is that there's very little exploration to actually be done. I wasted at least 20 minutes trying to find where I was supposed to use the Tylosaurus to smash open a barrier until I got the idea to just swim straight to each portal until I found the right one. That's all you have to do to make progress. Finally found the Tylosaurus' portal. Another mission where I have to eat other creatures. Fantastic. I swear, 2/3 of the missions are just eat X number of animals. Even with the challenges, this game is monotonous. Okay, why the hell won't he eat any of the fish? Missed! Crap! Shit! Oh, come on! What am I doing wrong? Eat him! Freaking eat him! This isn't that hard! Intake nourishment, expel waste, and stop sucking! The Tylosaurus is an apex predator! Why is he so bad at killing things? Killing an animal that is prey is easy. You just swim towards it, press B, and eat it. But other predators have health bars and I would say that they fight back, but that would imply this game has a combat system. Attacking prey is like flipping a coin. Attacking a predator is like flipping 2 coins just to do damage. So you just swim back and forth, pressing the B button over and over again, trying to eat the little bastard, and it doesn't work. And the predator sucks so hard at fighting back that it's not even a survival challenge, it's just trying over and over again until it gets inside you. Get in my belly, you little shit! These challenges are only difficult because of the crap controls, be it the Hinodus barely being able to move or the combat being so ass. Good jeez! I think, and I stress I think, that I eventually figured out how the combat works. You point at a predator and press B to start approaching it. Once you're swimming towards it, you point at it so the pointer turns into a pair of teeth, and then you press B again to bite it, at which point it may or may not dodge. That is my best approximation of how the combat works, and I still have no idea what the pairs of teeth that appear on the corner mean. You know, bitch slapping other sharks with your tail in Jaws Ultimate Predator may have been ridiculous, but it was a hell of a lot more fun than this. This is barely combat! And why are there so many challenges built around eating? I get it's necessary for survival, but this system freaking sucks! Several of the fossils don't unlock new creatures to play as. Instead, they increase your health, whoop-de-freaking-do, and they unlock videos that you can play on the main menu. You know, video clips from National Geographic about prehistoric creatures, these videos could be pretty interesting. Let's watch one. Okay, maybe that was a bad choice, so let's try this one. Right! That settles it. Nobody gave the furry crack of a rat's behind about this game. I mean, really? You make a game based on a documentary about sea creatures, you decide to include videos presumably from the documentary, and the only footage you use is a few seconds of CGI so poorly rendered that it looks like I'm watching it on a Sega CD? Why did you even get National Geographic's name on this if you weren't going to use any of their material? What was the use of selling this under their name? It's not like people are going to see a logo associated with documentaries on a video game and go, shit, yes, I need this in my Wii at once! 3 of the videos just show the creature slowly swimming out from a wall of shit, and you can tell that it's always the same wall of shit, and it's so poorly rendered that it actually looks like shit. When your game is outclassed by undersea adventure, you have cocked up! Some of the fossils, I think like 5 or 6 of them, are wildcards. You can use them to replace one fossil in any skeleton, you just can't use it to replace the skull. But here's the thing, the fossils are laid out such that you assemble the skeletons in one very specific order. There's no point in wasting a wildcard on a creature other than the one you're about to unlock, and if you try and use a wildcard to unlock the next creature early, the fossil that you replace with the wildcard will always be the very next fossil that you find. And get this, if you use a wildcard to fill in a fossil and then you find that fossil, you don't get the wildcard back. The wildcard is just wasted. The only possible use I can think of for these things is to hoard them all for the end of the game to fill in the last skeleton and end the game faster. These wildcards are so useless that basically all they do is pad out the game by adding a few extra fossils that you have to find that don't do anything. Maybe you could use a wild card to fill in a fossil that you get from a challenge so you don't have to do that challenge, but you have no idea which fossils you only get for winning challenges. The next monster you unlock is the Dolly Cor- Okay, now you're just messing with me! The Dalai Lama can jump over low rock walls and hey! And if you so much as graze any solid piece of ground that you couldn't possibly know is up there in mid-jump, then you immediately die. The final monster you get is the Tylosaurus, a creature that can travel on dry land. Sort of. If you try to walk on any surface that isn't perfectly flat, which would be most of them, you get hung up on the edge of every polygon you cross like you're navigating a maze of invisible walls, and you just have to jitter back and forth until the game decides to work properly. I always say that it's a rare game that manages to screw up walking. Plus the game tells you to double tap A to dislodge from the ground and resume swimming. What it means is that if you mash the everlasting crap out of the A button, you will eventually get off the damn wall. Either nobody tested this game, or nobody tried walking on a surface that you weren't expressly intended to walk across. Okay, lack of testing it is! I also have to say, switching between monsters is ridiculously tedious. To switch creatures, you press the plus button, then you click the arrows on the sides of the screen until it brings up the monster that you want, and then you click on the picture of the monster. Clicking anywhere else does nothing. It's slow, and it's annoying that this menu is so clunky to navigate. What's kind of weird is that this game has 4 separate pause buttons. Pressing plus pauses to bring up the monster selection screen, pressing minus pauses so you can peruse your collection of fossils, 1 breaks up the pause menu to go back to the main menu, and 2 brings up a list of all the hints that have popped up. The hints suck, by the way. They always seem to pop up after you found or done the thing that the hint was telling you to do. Like, it'll say, grab that fossil, immediately after you've grabbed a fossil. It repeats the same hints over and over again, too. A few fossils away from the end of the game, it still flashes reminders to look for fossils, and the introductory text to the game plays every single time you load up your saved game. I am not an idiot! Granted, the fact that I'm still playing this game does not exactly help my case, but I am not freaking stupid! You don't need to keep reminding me of all this crap! There are also no hints that tell you how the combat works, which is quite literally the one thing in the game that you need hints for. At the start of the game, as well as every time you turn the game on, you're told that you need to, quote, find a way to truly escape these waters, and one of the skeletons is a pteranodon, so obviously the end game is to build the pteranodon skeleton and use it to fly away. Well, I'm only missing a few pteranodon fossils, and I've got 4 wild cards left over. Finally, hoarding has led to something good. I used the first wild card to fill in the edge of one of the pteranodon's wings, and I used the second wild card to do nothing, because you're only allowed to use 1 wild card on a skeleton. You can only replace 1 fossil. Go freaking figure, the very next fossil that I find is the fossil that I filled in with the wild card. So now that the wild card I used has been replaced and is effectively gone, I should be able to use another one, right? Wrong! These wild cards are completely pointless! Alright, so since I can't use the wild cards, that means I just have to beat all the challenges and track down all the fossils until that damn pteranodon skeleton is complete. Beat all the challenges, no matter how much they piss me off! I just have to kill this last predator before time runs out to beat the challenge. Oh, come on! That's not fair! He just keeps swimming back into the rock where I can't attack him! Gonna run out of time! Come on, you cheating piece of shit! Well, poop! Finally, I beat all the challenges, and I'm still 1 fossil short of beating this damn game, so my only course of action is to wander around waiting for a purple dot to appear. Looking for that last damn fossil so I can quit this game, and I can't find it anywhere. After about 15 minutes of wandering around in giant circles, bored out of my mind, I finally figured out that the last pteranodon fossil is hidden in a spot that you can't reach without the combined abilities of all your creatures, and it's hidden so far inland that it'll never pop up on your radar. This game can kiss my ass. No, the punishment must be more severe. This game can suck my ass. So you finally build the pteranodon skeleton, you head to the center of the map to transform, and you don't even get to fly the pteranodon. It flies itself in circles over the map, while the shortest credits list that I've ever seen for a Wii game scrolls across the screen. And thanks to the features of modern consoles, I have a record of exactly how long it took me to finish this game. I spent a grand total of 3 hours and 13 minutes playing this game, start to finish. Now, let's subtract, let's be nice, and say a half hour of time that I spent wandering around lost, subtract 10 minutes I wasted in challenges because the combat wouldn't work, 5 minutes for that level I had to redo when the predator got stuck in a wall, and another 5 minutes I had to take a pee. This game is 2.5 hours long, and that's it. And you want to know how much of that time I was enjoying myself? 5 minutes. It was a really good pee. You know, I can almost see how a game based on a documentary could have been decent. Maybe break the game into levels where you play as one creature, each taking you through the creature's life cycle, like having to migrate through dangerous waters or escape predators. But no, let's just make the story water sucks, so evolve into something with wings because you are a freakish alien monster that can transform into other creatures by absorbing their bones. This game took what could have been an interesting concept and made it as boring as possible. When I would rather watch the documentary than play your game, and the two are probably about the same length, that's a good sign that you need to change careers. Pack it in. Don't make this shit ever again.